Hello, fam. So I kind of have this set up here, and I don't have multiple cameras or anything fancy like that. So we're going to make this work. In this live video, I am going to show you how to cast a resin dagger. Well, it's with KX Flex 60. So it's ultra bendable, super durable. And I'm doing this because I would like to use this in martial arts. So I made my original piece out of resin, which is extremely hard. I would say even a little bit brittle, but also very sharp. So getting this thrown at my face would probably actually really hurt me. So I've been casting it in this. This was my first pool, and it's okay. I wanted it to be a darker black on the inside, and I'm also going to be putting a rod down the middle. So the way this will look in the end, see if we can get this set up for you, is that we have a rod that goes the whole way from the handle through to the dagger, and then we'll make a loop here out of metal, actually, that we're going to use whenever we do the martial arts demonstrations. But for this purpose, what I need to do, this handle is not going to be cast, but whenever I cast this next one, I'm going to insert the rod into the mold as it cures. My mold cures in about 20 minutes, so I'll be able to hang out here and explain a little bit more about the process. But yeah, what you have to do to get started is make a silicone mold. I do have a video already on my channel of how I made this. I intended to originally make it as a 2-part silicone mold, and it ended up being a 1-part cut mold for me because I forgot a very important piece, which is ease release. So whenever you pour your first half, you must spray ease release before you pour your second half, and if you don't, it cures together into one solid mold. But we're gonna, for this, it is a 2-part mold in essence. We just have to be a little bit more careful whenever we put the sides together. So to get started, I not only am going to dye the KX Flex with black, I got this new black dye, and we'll see how it works because the last time I used one, it didn't work at all. So this new one should hopefully be a little bit better. But I also want it to have a gold sheen. So the way that I got the gold for this is with a mica powder. You put ease release in your mold first, and then the mica powder goes in, and I'm going to do that here for you. We'll see how it goes. Give myself some space. So all ease release does is make sure that you have a barrier between whatever you're pouring in the mold, so that everything comes apart nicer. You don't have to use it for a lot of these things, especially with mica powder. But after my mistake, I always use ease release, and I will continue to do so for as long as possible. So when you also get to see, I craft like a goblin person, so it's just gonna have to deal with this. So ease release, you don't need a whole lot of it. Part of the mistakes with my mold means that I have a lot of little folds here that I have to make sure to spray under. Just a light spray, and I also like to pull my mold apart a little bit to get inside. Both sides. Just let that dry for a little bit. So with a mica powder, I have a few colors here because I'm also going to be doing like a blue Sub-Zero armor, and so I'll do that. But it just is a sheen. It goes on the outside. Whenever you pour your resin into the mold, it picks up the mica powder that you put in there, and it should come off whenever you pull the cast out. So that's what we're going to do here. I might use a little less than the last time, but I don't know. This is a nice sheen. I feel like if I had the black resin underneath, that it will show through a little nicer, and you can always kind of rub it off a little bit. But we're just going to wing it. I'm going to wing it. So what I usually do for mica powder is I just kind of dab a little bit or dump a little bit into the mold, and then I use a stiff bristle brush to make sure that I get it in all the crevices. We have a lot of little points to my dagger, so I've got a bunch of spaces that I need to make sure I'm looking at. You just kind of dab it. I also dab it into any of the folds that you have where there'll be a mold, so don't forget those parts. So what you'll probably end up with is like a pile of powder at the bottom of your mold. All I do then is I take this, just kind of dump it out into my next mold, because I'm going to be using it there anyway. And I kind of open it up and just blow out whatever's left inside. Add a little bit more here on the inside where I can see it doesn't have quite as much coverage. All right. So once you have your mica powder, if you want to use ease release, this would be the time to do it. If you didn't use the mica powder, I do the ease release before the powder because you want to make sure the powder actually sticks to what you're pouring in. If you do the ease release after, it basically makes a barrier between the powder and whatever you're casting. So the next part, you're going to need rubber bands. We want to put our mold together, line it up. For me, this is a little more difficult because I don't have the registration keys that you normally would have whenever you do a mold, but we're going to make it work. I would always err on the side of doing more bands or straps or whatever than you think. It's the same with like resin printing or whatever. Do more than you think you might need. You can never really go overboard with it. So I do a ton. And you want them to be tight because you want this mold to be as squished together as possible. Just keep making sure that you have it lined up. I put another one here just to be extra sure. Make sure once again that we are as lined up as possible. Really, once you pour, you're kind of out of luck after that. So it's better to do your checks now and be a little overzealous about it. Okay, and then I'm also going to do bands going the opposite direction. All right, so we've got our block of a mold. Everything looks lined up correctly. My pour spout is here at the top, so I'm going to obviously leave it up and down like this. The last time I made this mold, I used entirely too much. I ended up with like 3/4 of this container still left of the casting material. So I'm not going to use very much this go around. For KX Flex, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. That'll stir it up a bit. These containers are also a huge pain in the butt. So what I'm going to do here is I like to open my containers first to make sure that they're, because they're such a pain to open, they're not just a screw cap. So I pop them open just a little bit. I like to measure using these little cups. They have, you know, little lines on them almost. And so it's easy to have the exact same amount in each cup. And then I pour those cups into a larger container, mix, add my dye, and pour into the mold through the pour spout. Because I'm also inserting a rod, I did measure on the rod how far it needs to go down in. So I'm going to put it there. And I did want to, it's a good thing I'm going through this, put a little bit of tape and a stick so that it can be held up in the mold without me having to sit there and hold it myself. My pot time, if you have any kind of casting material, it will give you a pot life or a pot time, and that means how long can you stir it and use it in the mixing containers before it's basically unusable. Mine is 2.5 minutes, so it's a fast one. And then it has a cure time, and that's how long it takes for it to cure once you put it in. For me, that is 20 minutes. It'll work. All right, so I've got my rod here that will be inserted. Leave that bad boy over there. You want to have everything prepped before you start, because once you start with a pot time of 2.5 minutes, you've got very little room for error. All right, here we go. Let's see if I can open it a little easier this time. Okay. So I don't actually open my gallon buckets the whole way because they're a huge pain in the butt. I just open them enough to where I can pour into my cup, and then I can immediately seal them back. So this is going to be fast and furious and probably a little messy. Enjoy the show. So right now, I'm at the 100 milliliter. I'm just doing 100, and then I'm going to add another 100 since it's 1-to-1. And just be ultra careful with it. Went a little over, so. All right. Now I want to add use a mixer. This is going to be way too much resin, I can already tell. And this guy works amazing. Oh, good. Okay, so mix thoroughly. That's the most important part here. We've got 2.5 minutes for me to do this correctly. Scrape your sides. I'm shocked. The last time I got a dye, it was awful, and it made it just like a light gray. So this is really nice. So KX Flex gets super hot as it cures. It's bizarre how hot it gets. So we're just going to pour gently and slowly because we have a lot of spaces that it needs to kind of get in, the crevices. To stop and kind of make sure we get everywhere. I'm going to leave myself some space, so I keep checking on it right now because we do have to insert this rod. We still have some room in there, so. I'm going to add a little bit more, just kind of a mess. Who would have thought? It's too hot for the tape to stay affixed to the rod. So I'm just going to hold this like an idiot at the right height. Good thing it's a fast cure time. If I had a paper clip, that would have been a good choice, but I ain't got that. I also like to kind of try to knock any, air bubbles while we have the chance. Leave your sticks in the casting material so that when you're done, you might have an easier chance pulling it out. I've had hit or miss with that. But yeah, here we are together, sitting here while I let my casting material cure. Super fun times. And hopefully this works out. And if it doesn't, you know what? You get to see it, and then I delete this video. And I did have a video of me casting the other version, so that's fine. I wish I had had a paper clip or something to hold this up. This feels silly. Checking on my mold. already kind of feel it getting thicker, harder for it to move around, so that I know it is curing, although I had no concerns about it. My bowl of material is hot. And I'm not sure if that happens with all casting material or just this one, but it gets very, very hot. I'm looking around to see if there's anything else I can do to hold this up. It doesn't require me sitting here holding it. I don't think so. See, this was supposed to be like fun story time where I could turn around and talk to you guys, but now I can't interact with my computer at all because it's too far away and my hands are in my casting material. The joys of live streaming, doing something you're not super familiar with. I have casted before with a different material called Task 14. Task 14 is a rotocasting material, which means that you can put it in a mold that's not a pour mold. You instead pour it within a cavity and then rotate the cavity, and it cures slowly over time to the inside of that cavity. So you have a hollow center in essence. I did mine when I used Task 14. I did it for a collar for Pride, which is Pride from Darksiders 3. It's the one with the big blue wings. So I wanted to have, what I do is I made a life cast of my neck, and then I put clay over top and carved out what I needed the collar to look like. And it's like an armored collar, which is why I had to do it this way, because foam's hot and it doesn't bend a lot. And I needed something that bend a bit. So I made it out of clay. And then you do Rebound 25 is a type of mold making material. Instead of pouring a mold, you actually brush on the mold, and then you make a like hard plaster cast on the outside of that to kind of keep that shape. Pull the plaster cast off, peel the mold off, and so you have a weirdly shaped mold. Basically, instead of being a block, it's the shape of whatever you just did. So mine would be the shape of a very weird armored neck. And then I poured Task 14 into the mold and just rotated it for, I don't remember how long the minutes were for that to cure, but you continually rotate it until it begins to harden and cure, and then eventually you would peel that out of the mold. I was very unaware of how casting worked when I did that, and so I didn't know what rotocasting was, and I didn't know that you had to continually move it. I just saw that the people who had done it before used Task 14. So I poured it into this cavity that I had made and didn't realize you had to keep moving it. And it poured completely out the bottom of the cavity all over my wood floors. And I didn't have enough money to buy more. So I immediately was scraping it off the floors and pouring more into the mold and trying to move it around. And I figured out that you had to move it around. And eventually, as it started to harden, I tried to fix that. So it worked. The collar that I have for that armor is in fact that pour, because I couldn't afford to do it a second time. But it was a learning experience, and I'm really glad it turned out to be usable. And I like Task 14, and I thought about using that for this. I don't need to rotocast this. But I bought gallons of KX Flex, so this is what we're using for this one. And I like it so far, although it is a bit light. The downside to this is that now, because the dagger is not resin printed, making sure this is straight, like the handle is in fact now slightly heavier than the dagger, which is not ideal whenever you're trying to use it for martial arts. You want the dagger or the tip to be the heaviest. And that helps with how it swings. So if you watch Mortal Kombat, which I highly recommend, the way that it swings whenever you use a Kyoketsu Shoge is what it's called. When you use that, is that the end piece has to be the heaviest. And that's how you get the scorpion moves. So I'm not sure what we're going to do yet about this. Maybe I'll have to cast the handle as well so that it's a lighter material. I'm not sure. We're going to see, but I'm going to try this first and put it all together and see if we can't make it work, because it does cost a bit for mold making materials, and I already have to use, I use Mold Max for, I really like Mold Star better because it cures faster, but that's what I use to make the actual mold itself, and I have to use that for Sub-Zero's armor, so I don't particularly want to use it up for just the handle piece if I can avoid it. I could also reprint the resin handle with a lattice on the inside so that it's not solid. But then, of course, it's a little more brittle. So we're getting there. It's not solid enough yet for me to let go, but it is hardening up pretty nicely already. I'm super nervous this isn't going to come out as nicely as the last one, and then I'm going to look like a fool whenever I pull it apart. We'll see. Trying to look for anything else that could hold this up that doesn't require my hand. I wish I could actually respond or see anything, but I can't get close enough to my computer because I have to hold this stupid rod in. So hello, the people who are commenting. Welcome to the garbage show where I mess things up. Nice to have you here. It's okay. I think it's nice to see that people mess things up all the time, even whenever they're, I don't know, I wouldn't say well known is really the right word, but people who compete, who whatever, they still do these things, just constantly messing up. We just try to make the best of our failures. So I'll show you because I have it here. I can probably take this glove off. We're getting there. I got this pattern for Scorpion's outfit, his gi. I have all the fabric and I cut the pattern out. It's a lot of fabric. And I just keep kind of putting it off because I'm not really a fan of sewing. But I plan to bring it to a few conventions this year. So at some point I'll need to finish that. We're getting close to me being able to let go of this. That makes y'all feel good. Makes me feel good. Also, if you can hear in the background, my resin printer is going, finishing up an order of crowns. I'll be leaving for a vacation for just me next week on Thursday morning. So I have one more batch of crowns that I plan to do before I go. And then I'll have to go on a hiatus, I guess, for my Etsy shop. I don't know. Close. It's close. Kill me. I thought about remaking this mold in its entirety, but honestly, like, this is a good enough pool for martial arts demonstrations that I'm not concerned about it. I'm going to use my resin print and finish a full dagger of this for photos. So like if I'm Sub-Zero, you know, I'd be holding the dagger up here as he stops it. If you've seen Mortal Kombat, that's part of it. And then I'll only use these casts for the martial arts demonstrations. Come on. It is so close to me letting go of this. It just slightly sinks down. But you know, the churning of it going up and down as I'm doing this video is probably pushing the casting material into the crevices better. So maybe things will turn out better than before. I don't know. Will it stay? No, still slightly sinking, just very slightly. I feel like once it's cured enough for it to actually stay in place, then we're probably pretty close to the actual cure time being done, and we'll just leave it for another like 5 minutes. I mean, a 20-minute cure time, I don't know how long we've been going, but it's, you know, pretty close. So So if you're doing this at home ever, the recommendation is your stuff's going to get hot. Tape will not stay affixed to the rod because of the heat. So find a different way to keep whatever rod you're adding in place that doesn't involve tape or something that could warm and soften. So paperclip type thing would be great, like one of those really big ones. If you're doing it sideways, you know, you can just kind of prop it on something, but anything other than a thing that gets soft when warm, that sounds awful. Scratch that. But you know what I'm saying. because otherwise you're going to sit here and hold it. And I'm just lucky that my cure time is 20 minutes and not like 24 hours. Or I would definitely have to find a different solution right now. Good times. Great times. So I should tell you where I get my stuff. You can go to the Smooth On website, but Smooth On has a terrible time stocking their own products, which I find to be ridiculous. You can get stuff on Amazon, but it's a little more expensive. So I go to the Complete, Compleat Sculptor. They're in New York, so I do their online site, and I order all of my stuff there because their shipping is like $18 for like gallons of stuff. It's so cheap. And I get all of my casting materials there. So I would recommend the Complete Sculptor, and they have reasonable prices. I get my dye, my ink, and my mica powders from Amazon because there's a lot of different options there. But yeah, I got my stuff, and I'll probably keep getting my stuff from the Complete Sculptor because they do it in like 2 days. Like the shipping's so fast. So it's been good. I'm really tired of holding this. Maybe I'll have some of my coffee. You know, it'd be nice is if I had extra cameras or a computer right here where I could type, because I can single hand type. But I don't. And it's unfortunate. It's still sinking down ever so slightly whenever I let it go. I don't want to let it go yet. So just a few more minutes of me sitting here being a turd and talking to myself before I really let it go. So next week I'll be going to Houston, which I know everywhere in Houston, so I don't need recommendations there. And then I'll be going to Dallas. If you have any recommendations on what to do in Dallas or a place to eat in Dallas, put them in the comments, because all I've seen in Dallas is a lot of food, which is fine. I'm going to eat a lot. And the grassy knoll, which I didn't realize was in Dallas. There's an aquarium we might go to. So I used to be a zookeeper. I used to work at the Houston Zoo. So my friend was also a zookeeper with me. We might end up doing some zoo stuff, but we also got a hotel that has a pool and a lazy river that goes around the pool, because apparently that's the type of vacation we're having, where we just sit at the pool and eat food. But yeah, if you have any recommendations, let me know. Let's see what time it is to see how much time we've passed. Getting pretty close. I feel like we're pretty close. I'm just like so weird about letting this go now that I've been holding it for so long, because it does sink a little bit. Should I just keep letting it sink? It's stressing me out. It does sink like millimeters each time that I let it go, which I imagine is pushing more of the casting material into crevices, but we're getting to the point where things are pretty solidly cured. I think we're getting there at least. So it seems like it wouldn't have many places to go. Thinking maybe if it wasn't so hot, I could probably put tape around it now to hold it up. I'm gonna jack this up if I do it. I can't do it, guys. I'm so stupid. I'll just message people on Instagram while we wait. We're getting there. This stuff, when it gets hard, it's like, it claims that it's ultra durable, and it is, because whenever I made too much last time, like I have this, you know, pot of 200 milliliters of casting material now, and it's going to dry, and I'll pull it out, and I thought I'll just cut it up and stick it in future molds. You can't. It's too durable. So if you make extra of this, you're just going to have to plan to throw it away unless you're going to use the entire pot as is. I like that it's that durable, but less mistakes then. And I bought a lot of this. I'm actually going to do not only Sub-Zero's like chest armor pieces in this, because I need them to, you know, not hurt me when I get kicked. But I'm also going to do, Scorpion has all these little like sharp bitties all over his shoulder pieces. I'm going to make molds of those and cast all of those as well. So I'm also tempted to cast the face masks that I made, which I'd show you if I could get up, but I can't. So I don't know yet though on those. They are, you know, painful if you get hit in the face with them. So, and they're a little bit heavy, but we'll see. I'm not sure yet. Maybe I should just let it like sink down, and it will just be what it is. Keep looking for like a paper clip that maybe I've forgotten about that's sitting around, but there are none. I think we're gonna let it go. Hold on, let me talk to you guys. Let's see here. I'm gonna turn my camera around while that's curing. You can see me. It's a me, Alexi. Hi, Smelms. Strong magnet would have been smart. It's Samir. Hi. Yeah, I do have a lot of magnets. That should have. You know what? Hindsight, guys. But that's a good one for next time. I'm an idiot. All right, let's. All right, we've got just a little bit. BRBs. All right, so let's pull out some of these guys. Whew, it has sunk down pretty far. Terrifying. Not sure how this is gonna go, but we're gonna let it go now. So these are the masks that I was talking about that I may also cast. Sub-Zero, Scorpion. The Scorpion one is like pretty heavy. The Sub-Zero one less so. Looks boss. But they are like, you know, I mean, they're solid on the inside. So, sorry, gotta close my door. So it could be more uncomfortable than I'm estimating. Ugh. I feel like this cured faster last time, which is a real shame. Wonder if something didn't mix properly. Which, if that's the case, then at least I have this one. But yeah, we'll see. See if I cast these. I don't know. I'd have to make a whole mold for it, and that sounds like a huge pain in the butt. I'm not really into more work right now. Put these away. What? We getting there. This may be a thing I have to like demold on video later because I feel bad holding people around for no reason. Oh, thank you. I am pretty proud of the masks. They do look nice, but they could be painful. Just takes forever, guys. I'm sorry. Should have got something that cures in like 5 minutes so we could be done and I could show you the result. But it may be that I just have to come back later. Bummer. I used KX Flex 60. So it's this. I've already cast it once before. it's super bendy, but also durable. So I can use it for martial arts stuff, which is nice. But yeah, I figured I'd do another cast, see if I could get a rod in it. But at this point, it's taking forever, which is kind of a bummer. It's nice. It gets really hot. I don't know if that's like normal for other ones, but I'm going to use it for all of the stuff I'm making. Getting closer. All right. Well, I feel like I should not keep you guys around while this cures. So what I will do is post later as I demold it so you can see the beauty of it. Oh, you do use it? See, I wasn't sure. I was telling people I was thinking about using Task 14 because it's also bendy and stuff. And but I don't remember how I ended up on this, but it just seemed like it had the properties that I needed for actual like martial arts stuff. So it's, I mean, this seems like exactly right. Like that's what I need. Even though it's a little bit lighter than I hoped. But yeah, it holds its shape really well, so that's nice. So I'll use it for everything. We're getting closer. All right, fam. I'm not gonna make you sit around while this cures. I wasn't sure how long it would take, but it's taking just a little bit longer than I feel like sitting around for. So I'll take a video later and post it and show you how it cured, how it looks like whenever I demold it. But basically all I'm going to do is after it's done curing, pull all the bands off, separate it, and then should have something like this except maybe darker because I used a black pigment in the resin. And then it should have obviously the rod sticking up the end, which will be nice. But thanks for coming. I'm going to do something else while this cures. It's taking some time. Hello.